Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Quarter Hour with Sid Yiddish. This is program two, or episode two, depending on how you look at it. I'm sorry I didn't make any notices this week about this show. I just decided to go with it with what I had. Um, this week has been a little convoluted and late. Today was that kind of day where everything went wrong. Shouldn't have gone wrong, but it certainly did. Overslept, but at least I'm sleeping, which I've had a sleeping problem for about 2 months, probably more so as we go deeper into this pandemic. Um, anyway, uh, here in the Chicago area, we've had a heck of a couple of days. There was the shooting on the south side, and then that led to another smash and grab looting kind of deal. And then now they've had curfew downtown, so you basically can't get downtown now, downtown Chicago, from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., at least through CTA. I don't know about Metro. I believe Metro you can, and some buses are still going through the downtown area. They're just alternate routes, I think they call that stuff. Alternate routes. Anyway, um, uh, yesterday was something phenomenal. We had our own very own tornado, which they said was a actual touchdown in Rogers Park. From preliminary reports, they said there was touchdown in Rogers Park, and then it flew out over the Lake Michigan, and became a water spout. I know that's very exciting, but we don't get to see that kind of weather in Chicago so much. My hometown um, is pretty insulated, at least this time it was, so I didn't have to worry about anything getting smashed or trees falling down. A lot of branches fell, but not necessarily, not necessarily other things falling down. Anyway, so I suspect you all had a good week, or you had a decent week, or you're having a decent week. You know, it is Tuesday night. Um, things do happen on Tuesday night. I'm not sure what happens on Tuesday night, but it does happen on Tuesday night. It's pretty nice. It was pretty nice out there today. I think it was in the lower, maybe it was the upper 70s, lower 70s. I can't remember. It looked good because the sunshine came down and hit us all. So that's pretty good. Uh, but we should get the show moving right along. And by that, I mean we should start by reading a few poems here, which that's by me. So I will start um, with one of my poems, and then I'd like to read two individual poems by a couple of other people here. Um, so this first one I'm going to read is one of mine, and it's called What My TV Doesn't Say to Me, or Not That I Have One. The stress in their brain stretches the landscape, a suggestion based on what a sales pitch of words meant to cut away at the very fabric of the comfort we've demanded, traded in for tirades of convenience, trysts of tantrums, disagreements, arguments, outbursts of dissected breath, intended for breath admiration, and not the politics of personification, narcissistic plumage of me versus me one better. And this was written on, as I recall, I think it was a Tuesday, December 3 of 2019. All right. So, moving right along with poetry, I'd like to introduce somebody to the program whose poetry I haven't read, but I can give you a little bit of background on this person. I've known him probably for about 17 years. His name is uh, Wesley Hine, but I like to call him Wes because that's how I know him. And he's a friend of mine, a great collaborator of mine, and a really true friend. Um, we've collaborated on recording projects. We've collaborated on recording projects, um, bands, poetry gigs, all kinds of stuff. And it's always a pleasure to read his work. I did an album with him about a year ago um, called Heaven's Headache, where I contributed a poem in translation, which was a poem about my late mother, who passed away June 1, 2017. Um, and he's a good, as I say, he's a good person all around. So I'd like to read this poem. This is from a poem, I guess it's a book called Sugar Skull Poems. And this poem is the first one straight out of the barn, and it is called Karaoke. As a kid, I would go to the bars with my dad and get bored. Sure, in Wisconsin, you could drink with your parents when you were 16. But the beer just made me realize all the more how boring life in the Midwest can be. Everyone's eyes glossed over while yelling at the Packer game. Drinking was more fun when I wasn't allowed, when I was off under bridges with the boys. My dad and I would play darts or pool. He would play well, and I wouldn't really try, but we liked to play the jukebox and talk music. When I, what I really liked was when they had karaoke. I never picked the party songs, you know what I mean, Journey, Bon Jovi, or Sweet Home Alabama. I liked to pick the odd songs, the freaky songs, the ones that rang true when I was off smoking and drinking in the graveyard with the boys. Imagine a group of nice middle-aged baby boomers drinking suds when a shaggy teenager starts singing When the Music's Over by the Doors. My voice was never in tune, just wailing, the adolescent voice cracking. I was shrieking the drug-soaked songs from their own generation. Rubbing their faces in their old music was more shocking than singing Marilyn Manson. They would get anxious and feel all the horror their parents felt. One time, after singing White Rabbit, which ends with the line, "Feed your head," an old fisherman told me, "That means read more books." I read plenty, sir. Afterwards, even though I was being a smart-ass punk, I would feel very old and very young all at once. And that was a good feeling. Once again, that was a poem by Wesley Hine from the book Sugar Skull Poems. And speaking of poetry, I would like to read this one. I'd like to start off with it anyway, with this fellow. Ah. So this is a book called The Joys of Satanism, and that is by my good friend Shane Bugbee. Um, and I'd like to do this poem, read this poem rather, not do it, read it. I don't think I read it last week. If I did, I apologize. This is a poem called Similar to Buddhism, Tastes Like Chicken. Buddhism seems to be where an aging Satanist goes to die. Satanism seems to be similar to Buddhism. The Buddhist title seems to be more acceptable than that of Satanist. In the old in an old mind of a dead era, the satanic millennia is upon us. And I would like to read this one. It's called Flame of Knowledge. The Satanist is an explorer of the mind and dirt, playing with the flame of knowledge until it consumes you. Never enough, playing with madness, never enough. Enough information to sustain. Employ is for others, the toys. The Satanist swims in the world's knowledge. The Satanist lives to be wrong, so the Satanist might be right another day. The occult knowledge the Satanist seeks isn't written here, there, or anywhere. The occult knowledge the Satanist seeks is experienced and translated through art or from mouth to ear, ear to mouth. And I'm going to switch one more to one of mine. And this one is just called Mourning, as spelled in Mourning. Mourning. Old men drowning in fountains, bubbles floating, then disappearing. There is no plan that I care to share, they shout just before they go under. And I wonder aloud if desperation is a ghostly soul enveloping and tightening brain cells shortly before they pop. If culture and culture were one and the same, I'd believe it, but for now, I don't buy into the cliches, the selfishness of attitudes disguised as fair weather friendships who knife you in the back, bloodletting, putting up with the inanity of it all. I weep alone amongst a gurgled symphonic moan. It is morning. It is morning, after all. And I wrote that also on a Tuesday. It was Tuesday, December 17 of last year. One more poem, and then we're going to move on to our feature, which I'm going to pull up on the screen in a moment here. Just in case you tune in, we are almost to our quarter hour here. This is the quarter hour with Sid Yiddish. I'm just doing what I do best: spontaneity, read, talk, point things out, and then I read a story. So this is one called Secrets. It's also by Shane Bugbee from his great book, The Joys of Satanism. And it's called Secrets. If a companion gives your secrets away, they are to be taken as the greatest of all enemies. If a companion sells your secrets away, they are the lowest of stooge, to be trampled upon and disrespected at every turn. The mystic depends upon mysticism and the healthy isolation an artist needs. If a companion gives secrets away, turn away. The traitor is the lowest form of life. The betrayer is the lowest form of life. Beware, they are not your silent, desperate wife. All right, we are right exactly at the quarter hour. So we're in the first quarter hour of the quarter hour with Sid Yiddish. And so now I want to go to our weekly sort of segment, which is called the White Privilege Karen, which is about people who complain on the North Shore, as according to uh, according to Nextdoor Digest. I take the names and initial them and uh, hide the guilty from hitting the fan, so to speak. So, take a sec to come up here. Just a little bit. Okay. So this one, I know there's a little pause here. I apologize for that. All right, so this one is by an EB. They are from Lincolnwood. And this was about a day ago, even though I think it was more than a couple of days ago. And there are 47 remarks here. And I won't read all of them, just most of them. The ones I'll pick out, pick and choose. That's what we do, pick and choose. This is called Please Wear a Helmet. I was driving down Lincoln Street, and lying in the middle of the street is a person entangled in his bike. I parked and went over. Sorry, there's a delay here. I parked. Darn it. This is what it is with live. All right. Well, they parked and went over to see if the person was okay. And primarily what happened was that she, AB, chastised the guy for not wearing a helmet. And while a lot of well-wishers hoped that the guy was okay, some of them, as usual, chimed in, and a VJ from Lake Sheridan says, agreed on the helmet, but seems the bigger story is this person was hit/knocked down by a car that just drove off. And then NH from Lincolnwood chimes in and just wants to relate to the story somehow and says, this happened to my daughter the other night. A car ran her off the road and just drove off. She's bruised and scraped, but thankfully okay. And she gets 12 likes or loves or wows or whatever. I don't know why people do that. And then TMG says, I saw 5 teens biking on Ridge last night in the dark, and not one had reflectors or lights on their bikes. They were basically invisible. Do your kids a favor and make sure they can be seen. And then MK from Northeast Evanston says, thanks for being a good neighbor to this fellow. Hope he recovers. Where were his friends? And then MP from Kingsley says, young folks who don't yet drive have no experience what it is like for a driver. When my children were of the age to be about to drive, that's a really weird sentence. When my children were of the age to be about to drive, that's some adults still can't get around sentences. Anyway, I would point out potential and actual dangerous situations when they occurred. I also asked them to imagine they were drivers when they were passengers. It heightened their awareness. So much so that one of them has chosen not to drive. Perhaps I overdid it. And JR from Mackenzie says, wow, if those kids want to take a chance and adults at not wearing a I think they're, wait, my mistake. She misspelled, of course. Uh, or he, perhaps. Wow, if those kids want to take a chance as adults and not wearing a helmet while they're riding a bike or a motorcycle. Or maybe I read it wrong. And their sentences are not making sense because people write and they don't use spell check, and or autocorrect always comes out wrong. So again, that is, wow, if those kids want to take a chance and adults at not wearing a helmet while they're riding a bike or motorcycle, it's definitely not autocorrect. It's the person. They are also taking a chance of being back in a diaper and learning to eat. All right. Now, somehow that makes no sense. But then again, I'm dealing with you're dealing with a next door ridge. It is your choice. We have to make children and adults understand consequences. Not to mention the best brain surgeon is working on you. While my innocent child may have had a brain aneurysm and passed away. Sorry if this seems rough, but it is what it is. And the last one from, this makes no sense because we're talking about biking here. Maybe we're talking about drivers too. SL from Lake Sheridan says, I think a defensive driving course for anyone who's considered driving is highly needed, especially for the kids in school taking driver's education. Truly. Now, this is about a biker not wearing a helmet. And now it turns into it's the driver's fault. Yeah, I know there's a line to be drawn between bikers and drivers. I know sometimes it's hard for me to be on the biker side when I drive. It's different when I bike, and I can see the car coming. So I have mixed feelings about it. But this is a post definitely about wear a helmet, wear a helmet, wear a helmet. But it's a little too lecturous to me. Not lecherous, but lecturous. One of my own words. So it's almost 6 minutes too, and I'd like to start a little bit early and finish with this book for our week. This is called I Can't, Said the Ant, and this is Words and Pictures by Polly Cameron. This book, and it was written in 1961. I Can't, Said the Ant. Words and Pictures by Polly Cameron. It was a Scholastic Services book. It's for Donald Cameron McQuiston. I was taking a walk. There's the ant. Taking a walk. You can see it. There you go. I was taking a walk when I heard a loud clatter. I rushed into the kitchen to see what was the matter. There on the floor, with the tea pouring out, was a cracked teapot with a broken spout. Good heavens, what happened? My poor Miss Teapot. She rolled over and murmured, the tea was too hot. There it is, right there. See it? And what's all the clatter? Asked the platter. Teapot fell, said the dinner bell. Teapot broke, said the artichoke. She went kerplop, said the mop. Is she dead? Asked the bread. Just a break, said the steak. Broke her spout, said the trout. Just like, not this trout, but the trout in the book. A fine fiddle, said the kettle. Alas, said the glass. What a life, said the knife. There we go. There's a picture. You can see it. They're all talking. Push her up, said the cup. I can't, said the ant. You can, said the pan. You must, said the crust. Please try, said the pie. So there's the ant trying to do it on its own, you see. Looks like he's having trouble. That's the way, said the tray. That's good, said the wood. Higher, said the fire. It's a breeze, said the cheese. You've gone too far, said the jar. So there's the ant, still trying to get up to the cabinet there. They slid, said the lid. Oh gosh, said the squash. How exhausting, said the frosting. Relax, said the axe. Stop and think, said the sink. I rested her gently back on the floor. Fear not, Miss Teapot, I'll be back for more. I gathered my friends and told them the trouble. We spread the word and came back on the double. There was an army of ants and a spider or two. We quickly made plans on just what to do. So there he is, and he brought his friends with him. How bleak, said the leek. She'll die, said the fly. She will not, said the pot. Don't be dumb, said the crumb. Keep cool, said the stool. They'll fix her, said the mixer. We haven't lost yet, said the omelet. Lost yet and omelet do not rhyme. Okay. Give them time, said the lime. There's still hope, said the soap. They'll mend her, said the blender. The spider spun a splendid web and wrapped it around her spout, making certain it was tight, so the tea could never trickle out. So check it out. That's what happened. See? See what the spider did? Will you look at her, said the cat. Will you look at that, said the cat. My word, said the bird. Aren't they nimble, said the thimble. Aren't they smart, said the tart. Rather rare, said the pear. Superb, said the herb. Keen, said the bean. Neat, said the beet. Dandy, said the candy. Supreme, said the cream. From her spout to her handle they spun a strong string, and when they finished her spout, they had a sling. I'll show it right there. That's the ticket, said the cricket. Gee, said the pea. I agree, said the tea. What a show, said the dough. Good cheer, said the root beer. She'll be all right, said the light. Take my advice, said the rice. She'll heal, said the peel. She's good as new, said the stew. What a blessing, said the dressing. Miss Teapot's spout was nicely mended, but we knew our job had not quite ended. How do we get her back up to the sink? To figure that out, we all had to think. The spiders began to spin and spin. They spun up and over and around and in. So that's what they're doing right there. You see? That's what's going on right there. Get her up to the top, said the chop. Some trick, said the candlestick. Some climb, said the thyme. Give them room, said the broom. Keep alert, said the dessert. And that's exactly what they're doing right there. Look at that. That's what they're doing. Just like a crane. Cooperate, said the plate. From a battalion, said a scallion. Pull hard, said the lard. Give a tug, said the bug. Don't rock, said the clock. There they are. Look at that. Look at those ants go. Okay, we are now into the actual second quarter hour. But I am reading this story called I Can't, Said the Ant, Words and Pictures by Polly Cameron, 1961. And I will finish with this, and then I will go for the night. So back to the story. Don't break her, said the shaker. Don't choke her, said the poker. She'll crash, said the trash. I can't look, said the book. I can't bear it, said the carrot. And there they are, right there. They're doing their job like they're supposed to. Head or east, said the yeast. A close scrape, said the grape. What power, said the flour. We've won, said the bun. What a relief, said the beef. Check it out. You got that teapot straight back up there. Thank you, said Miss Teapot. You've been good to me. Polly, put the kettle on. Well, I'll have tea. So all the ants, they're all happy, happy, happy because they got the teapot back up. See, you can do a lot when you're small. A lot more than most people think. The end. And other books. If I could get these books, it'd be great. These are other books that she has put out. She wrote The Cat Who Thought He Was a Tiger, The Cat Who Couldn't Purr, The Dog Who Grew Too Much, The Boy Who Drew Birds, A Child's Book of Nonsense. So this is Sid Yiddish, and you've been watching the Quarter Hour, where I just kind of do a spontaneous show of poetry and talk little talk, and also some other things, and the end with finish the end with a story. So for those of you who watched, I want to thank you, and those of you who watch later, I still want to thank you. So for those of you who are in the evening right now, I want to say good evening to you. And for those who are in the morning, I want to say good morning to you, like those folks in Denmark. And for those who are in the afternoon, like say maybe Alaska or perhaps Russia or some other place, I want to say good afternoon to you. And until next week, this is Sid Yiddish signing off. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.